February 18, 2001. FBI headquarters, Washington, D.C. Agents arrested one of their own, an FBI agent, who'd been spying for Russia for 22 years. His name was Robert Hanssen. He'd sold America's most classified secrets from inside FBI headquarters, and no one knew. Robert Hanssen wasn't a criminal. He was a veteran FBI agent, trusted, respected, with top-level security clearance. He worked in counterintelligence. His job was catching spies. Instead, he became one, the most damaging spy in American history. This is his story: how an FBI agent sold nuclear secrets, betrayed undercover agents, and caused their deaths for money. Robert Hanssen was born in Chicago, 1944. Raised Catholic. His father was a police officer. Strict, demanding. Robert wanted to impress him. He studied chemistry and dentistry in college. But his father wasn't impressed. "You're not tough enough," he said. So Robert joined the FBI. In 1976, Robert excelled at the FBI. Smart, obsessive, detail-oriented. He was assigned to counterintelligence, hunting Soviet spies in America. He learned everything about Soviet intelligence, their methods, their handlers, their dead drops. He became an expert, which made him dangerous. Why did he do it? Money. Robert earned $47,000 a year at FBI. He had 6 children, private school tuition, bills, debt. He wanted more. The Soviets paid him well, very well, $20,000 for his first package of secrets, more than he made in 6 months at the FBI. Robert gave them FBI surveillance techniques, names of undercover agents, and locations of listening devices. The Soviets were ecstatic. But Robert had a problem. He was paranoid, obsessive. He refused to meet Soviet handlers face to face. Only dead drops, only anonymous exchanges. For 6 years, Robert sold secrets. From 1979 to 1981, then again from 1985 to 1991. He'd stop when he felt close to being caught, then start again when he needed money. In 1991, Robert stopped spying. He confessed to a priest. The priest told him to stop. He donated some of the Soviet money to charity. He thought he was done. But 9 years later, in 1999, Robert needed money again. His kids' college tuition, more bills, more debt. So he contacted Russian intelligence. The Soviet Union was gone, but Russia still wanted secrets. This time, Robert sold even bigger secrets: nuclear weapon details, satellite intelligence, FBI computer systems. The Russians paid him hundreds of thousands in cash and diamonds. But the FBI was closing in. They didn't know who the spy was, but they knew someone inside FBI was selling secrets. They called him the Mole. The FBI created a task force, a small team. Their mission: find the Mole. They had no idea they were hunting one of their own senior agents. The FBI task force had a major problem. The Mole could be anyone. Hundreds of agents had access to classified information. They needed a break, and they got one. The CIA bought a Russian intelligence file from a defector for $7 million. The file contained evidence about an FBI mole. The file didn't have a name, but it had details: dead drop locations, payment amounts, timing of exchanges. The FBI started analyzing, trying to identify their mole. One detail stood out. The mole used a specific park in Virginia for dead drops, Nottoway Park. The FBI knew that park well. The file mentioned dates, specific dates when secrets were passed. The FBI cross-referenced which agents had access to those specific secrets on those specific dates. The list of suspects got smaller, from hundreds of agents to dozens, then to a few. The FBI was getting closer. One name kept appearing: Robert Hanssen, senior FBI agent, counterintelligence expert. He had access to everything, and he lived near Nottoway Park. But they needed proof. Suspicion wasn't enough. They needed to catch him in the act, passing secrets to Russians. The FBI created a plan. They promoted Robert, transferred him to a new position in FBI headquarters, where they could watch him every single day. They gave him a young partner, Eric O'Neill, fresh out of training. His real job? Watch Robert Hanssen, report everything he does. O'Neill reported everything: Robert's computer usage, his phone calls, his movements around headquarters. The FBI was building a case, waiting for Robert to make contact with Russians. Robert was careful, paranoid. He knew surveillance techniques. He'd taught surveillance techniques. He was suspicious of his new young partner, but he kept spying anyway. On February 18, 2001, Robert left work early. He drove to Foxstone Park, another dead drop location. The FBI was watching. This was their moment. Robert walked to the dead drop, a wooden footbridge. He placed a package underneath. Classified documents. For his Russian handlers. The FBI moved in. FBI, don't move. 8 agents surrounded him, guns drawn. After 22 years of spying, Robert Hanssen was finally caught. Red-handed. Robert didn't resist. Didn't run. He knew it was over. "What took you so long?" he asked. Like he'd been waiting. For 22 years. FBI agents searched his car. They found the evidence. Classified documents. Ready to be copied for Russia. Maps of dead drop locations. His spy kit. They searched his home. In his basement, they found his secret. Digital files. Encrypted. Containing every secret he'd sold. 22 years worth. Over 6,000 classified documents. The FBI finally knew the full scope. Nuclear weapons systems. Satellite technology. FBI computer codes. Identities of undercover agents. Robert had sold everything. Absolutely everything. Robert Hanssen had committed the worst intelligence breach in American history. Worse than Aldrich Ames. Worse than anyone. The FBI agent who became their biggest nightmare. The FBI began damage assessment. What did Robert sell? What did Russia know? The answers were horrifying. Robert sold the FBI's entire surveillance system. How agents track suspects. How they tap phones. How they break codes. Russia now knew everything about FBI operations. He sold the names and identities of American intelligence agents working undercover in Russia. The Russian government arrested them. 3 agents were executed because of Robert. One agent was Sergei Motorin. He worked for the FBI in Moscow. The Russians arrested him in 1985, interrogated him, then executed him. He was 36 years old. Another was Valery Martinov, also FBI asset in Moscow, arrested the same year, executed the same way. He had a wife and children. Robert's money cost them their father. Robert also sold nuclear secrets. Details about American nuclear submarines. Their capabilities. Their vulnerabilities. Russia gained military advantage. For decades, he sold satellite intelligence capabilities. How America monitors communications from space. Russia adjusted their systems, making them invisible to American surveillance. Robert even sold FBI computer security codes. The Russians gained access to FBI systems. They could see what the FBI was investigating, who they were watching, in real time. The FBI calculated the total damage. Over 6,000 pages of classified documents. 26 computer disks, equivalent to thousands more pages. Russia got everything. Intelligence experts called it catastrophic damage. The worst intelligence compromise in history. Russia knew America's secrets for 22 years, and America didn't know. But what about the money? Robert made $1.4 million from Russia, in cash and diamonds. Where did it go? Some went to his wife and kids, college tuition, private schools, cars, normal family expenses. But much of it was hidden, in secret bank accounts, and cash. The FBI interviewed Robert's wife, Bonnie. She was shocked. She had no idea her husband was a spy, but she remembered something strange. Years earlier, she caught Robert with large amounts of cash. In 1980, Bonnie found $5,000 in cash in Robert's drawer. He said it was from his mother. She believed him, but it was Russian money. She discovered his secret and didn't know it. Robert told her his mother gave him money. A lie, but Bonnie made Robert confess to a priest and donate some money to charity. That's when Robert stopped spying. Temporarily, his wife unknowingly stopped him for 8 years. But the FBI found something else in Robert's home. Disturbing. He recorded himself having sex with his wife, then sent the videos to a friend. Without her knowledge, Robert's betrayal went beyond espionage. Psychologists analyzed Robert. They found a pattern: obsession with control, need for power, sexual deviancy, religious guilt, and greed. Robert Hanssen was deeply disturbed. Former colleagues were devastated. Agents who worked with Robert for decades trusted him, ate lunch with him, never suspected. He fooled all of us, they said. The FBI director Louis Freeh called it a dark day for the Bureau. An FBI agent, a guardian of American security, had become its greatest threat. From within, the damage was done. Russia had America's secrets. Agents were dead. Systems were compromised. And it took 22 years to stop him. Now came justice. Robert Hanssen faced trial. The charges were devastating. Espionage. Conspiracy. 15 counts. Each one carried the death penalty. The prosecution had everything. Robert caught a dead drop. His spy kit recovered. 6,000 classified documents. Computer disks. His own encrypted files. The evidence was overwhelming. Robert faced a choice. Fight the charges and risk execution. Or plead guilty. Cooperate with investigators. And spend life in prison. No possibility of parole. On July 6, 2001, Robert pleaded guilty to 15 counts of espionage. In exchange, the government agreed. No death penalty, but life in prison. Forever. The judge asked Robert to explain himself. Why did you do it? Robert's answer was simple, cold. I'd lost my faith. I needed the money. And I rationalized it. No apology. No remorse. No acknowledgement of the agents killed. Just cold calculation. The courtroom was silent. Even the prosecutors were stunned by his indifference. The prosecution presented victim impact statements. Families of executed agents. FBI agents betrayed. Intelligence officials. All described the devastation Robert caused. One widow spoke. Her husband was killed because Robert sold his name. My children grew up without a father, she said. Because of your greed. Robert showed no emotion. FBI Director Louis Free testified. This is a tragic day for the FBI, he said. Robert Hanssen betrayed his country, his oath, and his colleagues. For money. The CIA Director George Tenet testified. The damage is incalculable, he said. Operations compromised. Sources lost. Agents dead. America's security weakened. For decades. On May 10, 2002, the judge sentenced Robert Hanssen. Life in prison. Without possibility of parole. 23 hours a day in solitary confinement. At ADX Florence. America's supermax prison. ADX Florence. The most secure prison in America. Built for terrorists and traitors. Concrete cell. 7 by 12 feet. One window. 4 inches wide. This would be Robert's home. Forever. Robert Hanssen arrived at ADX Florence in July 2002. Prisoner number 48551-083. He would never leave. Never see his family again without glass between them. Never breathe free air. In prison, Robert was debriefed. For months, intelligence officials asked him everything. What did you sell? When? To whom? Robert cooperated. He had no choice. That was the deal. The debriefings revealed more secrets. Operations even the FBI didn't know Robert compromised. The damage was worse than they thought. The investigation continued for years. Robert's wife Bonnie divorced him. His children refused contact. His brother was FBI agent who'd worked counterintelligence. He changed his name. The Hanssen family was destroyed. From within, the FBI implemented reforms. New security protocols. Polygraph testing for all agents. Internal monitoring systems. Background checks. They called it the Hanssen reforms. Making sure it never happened again. But the damage was permanent. Russia still held American secrets. Agents were still dead. Nuclear vulnerabilities were known. Satellite systems compromised. The effects would last decades. Intelligence experts estimated it would take 20 to 30 years to fully recover from Robert's betrayal. New systems, new codes, new agents, rebuilding everything he destroyed. Robert Hanssen, FBI agent, Catholic, father of 6, spy for Russia, traitor, killer. He betrayed everything. For $1.4 million. Now came his legacy. Today, Robert Hanssen sits in ADX Florence. Cell 23 hours per day. 1 hour in concrete yard. Alone. No contact with other prisoners. This is his life. Until death. He's now 80 years old. He'll die in that cell. Never leaving. Never seeing sky without bars. Never touching another person. Total isolation. Forever. His case is studied. By FBI recruits. By intelligence agencies worldwide. As a warning. About insider threats. About the damage one person can cause. Security experts call him the perfect insider threat. Trusted position. High clearance. Technical knowledge. And willingness to betray. The worst combination possible. The FBI created a museum exhibit about Robert at FBI headquarters, showing his spy kit, his dead drop equipment, his story, as a reminder, to never forget. Books were written, movies made, documentaries filmed. Breach, starring Chris Cooper, told Robert's story. America needed to understand how this happened. Psychologists analyzed what creates a traitor. Robert's childhood trauma, abusive father, need for approval, financial pressure, religious conflict, all combined into betrayal. But many people have difficult childhoods, financial problems, religious doubt. They don't become traitors. Robert made a choice, repeatedly, for 22 years. That's what made him different. The families of killed agents still grieve. Sergei Motorin's family, Valery Martinov's family, lives destroyed because Robert wanted money for private school tuition. The FBI still conducts damage assessment. Today, over 20 years later, still discovering operations Robert compromised. The investigation never really ended.